New Vitamin Water Zero Sugar Pineapple Passion Fruit is packed with vitamins. Just like the amount of peas we packed in that sentence. It's packed like your tote bag. The one you stole from your ex. Or your overpriced half a studio apartment. Or extra rushed rush hour traffic. Packed like your calendar. Triple booked at 5, of course. Grab a Vitamin Water. Did we mention it's packed with vitamins?
Raise the rudders! Raise the sails! Raise the sails!
Captain, an unidentified ship is approaching. Over.
Roger. Wait, is that an enterprise sales solution?
Reach sales professionals, not professional sailors. With LinkedIn ads, you can target the right people by industry, job title, and more. Start converting your B2B audience today. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a free $250 credit for the next one. Get started today at linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
Hello, my name is Damon Friedman, co-founder and president of SOF Missions. As a 20-year veteran within Special Operations, I've gone through many challenges due to my military service and time in combat. We felt called to start SOF Missions to serve our fellow brothers and sisters in arms, focusing on suicide prevention and resiliency. Our mission at SOF Missions is to empower warriors to find purpose and be resilient. Since 2011, when we started the organization, almost 3 million men and women have deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan. Unfortunately, the scars of war take a toll on their psychological, physical, social, and spiritual health. Many veterans feel a sense of hopelessness and a loss of purpose when they return to civilian life. They feel isolated and alone, unable to reconnect. And in the greatest of tragedies, over 20 veterans lose all hope and take their own lives. Our goal at SOF Missions is to provide veterans the tools and resources so that they don't become a statistic. We offer a unique approach to combating veteran suicide through a whole health, intradisciplinary model. The Be Resilient program is a 4-pillar methodology that addresses the areas of psychological, physical, social, and spiritual wellness. We provide care through 3 delivery methods: medical clinics, retreats, and educational training. Since we started back in 2011, we have been able to reach veterans in all 50 states and have served over 3,000 veterans through the Be Resilient program. Being resilient is a multifaceted and complex issue. We know that to find a lasting solution, we have to address the whole warrior. Many challenges cannot be solved by providing the treatments and modalities of just one component, but by tackling them all. Now, we've expanded our services to include law enforcement and first responders. Together, we can make a lasting impact in the lives of warriors across the nation. To learn more, visit our website at sofmissions.org.
All right. Welcome back.
Misfit Nation. Misfit Nation. The Misfit Nation Show.
We are a show founded by a veteran and hosted by 2 veterans and a military spouse. Our mission is to get people to tell their stories to the world. If you're an author, share your tips with the Misfit Nation. If you're a musician or an actor, our audience need to know how they too can get into the business. Coaches, we love our coaches. Come on and share your tips with the Misfit Nation to help them become better versions of themselves. If you are a corporate leader or an entrepreneur, come on and show how you did it and how hard you have fought for success. If you are a veteran, first responder, or Gold Star family, we would love to have you come on and share your story with the Misfit Nation. We always have time for you. If you're feeling down, alone, or starting to see the darkness, stop. Think about those who are around you. You are not alone. You will be missed. If you feel like your problems will be a burden to those in your inner circle or feel embarrassed, dial 988. If you are a veteran, take option 1. We need you to keep pushing forward. Don't make a permanent solution to a temporary problem. If you are a new listener, welcome to the Misfit Nation Show. Be sure to subscribe to our show on your favorite podcast app. Also on our YouTube channel at _Misfit Nation. Subscribe and click the bell to keep you up to date on our latest episodes and all of our news. You can also find us on Heroes Media Group and About Face Radio. Now, let's get to the show!
All right. It's time. He's back. He's bad. You're pumped up. He's ready to rock your face off. We're here today with a great guest star. We know the world is on fire right now, but for the next 45 to 60 minutes, give your unattended, undivided attention to Cagney. No Lacey tonight, as he talks to you like mother-loving Barry White. So reach up there, grab those shoulder harnesses, put that chin strap on tight, and get it, Cagney! Woo!
Thank you for that great intro. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the show. It's Tuesday. It's Stephen alone day. Jake's on vacation, out with the family, relaxing. God bless him. Tonight we have G. Michael Hopf, USA bestseller, not former Marine. I take that back. Oh my goodness. Retired Marine Corps veteran. He was also a bodyguard, commercial diver. He's written 40 books. One sold more than 1 million copies worldwide. That's all I'm going to say about him. I'm going to bring him in and let him tell his story. Michael, good evening. How are you?
Good. How are you doing? Thanks for having me on.
Hey, I'm glad you're here. I was waiting. I'm like, oh my goodness, is he not coming? And then you were there. I'm like, I'm happy. Happy
Yeah,
Tuesday.
I usually like on time is early, but not today. I had some technical issues on my end, but we got it all figured out. That's how we do it. We adapt and overcome, right?
Exactly. It happens. You just got to figure it out real quick, and you got to get in there and get it done. So where are you? Where are you from, Michael?
I'm originally from back east in Maryland, and I left that farm, that life when I was 18 when I joined the United States Marine Corps. I've been all over the place, traveled the world, and now I live in sunny San Diego.
San Diego, nice. I've been that way once. I'm over on the other side.
It's a nice place. It's a nice place. I really, really love it. I remember the first time I came out here. That was my first duty station after my MOS training, infantry school. I ended up at Camp Pendleton. I was like, oh my God, it's really beautiful out here. No bugs, no humidity, not like the East Coast.
Well, I kind of like it like that here. It keeps everything together. Except, lately it's been raining. I think they said something like 30 days of rain so far. It's just rain for like.
Did you build an ark? Are you building an ark? You ready to get out of there?
No, I just walk through it like it's nothing. I see people covering themselves with their umbrellas. I'm just walking like the hell are they going to get wet anyway. Well, tell us a little bit about yourself. I know you're Marine. I know you were a bodyguard, commercial diver, big ass author. What else you want to tell us about yourself?
Yeah, I've done quite a bit in my life. I've been blessed to join the Marine Corps was a blessing. And people always they always thank us for our service, and anyone who served. But I really feel honored and blessed that my country allowed me to serve, and I mean that sincerely. I think it's a wonderful country. It's not perfect, nothing is, but I've been around the world, and I can tell you it's the best game in town. So I'm very blessed by that. I had 6 years in the Marine Corps. Had a good experience, some uncomfortable moments, but overall it was really good. But it has shaped me into the man that I am today, without a doubt. There's pretty much not a day that doesn't go by that I don't think about my time in the Marine Corps. It's kind of odd that way. I can bounce around from Marine Corps commercial diver, bodyguard, and then after the bodyguard, I kind of started getting into more entrepreneurial endeavors, from real estate, owning several different kinds of businesses, which then eventually led into becoming an author. And now I run 2 publishing companies, another kind of adjacent company that caters to publishing and writing. And I'm still a novelist, although I haven't written. The last novel I wrote was when was that? 2.5 years ago, which was book number 40.
That's amazing. Now, were you self-publishing? That's how you started your own publishing business, or?
That's a great question. So my very, very first book was a children's illustrated book that I did. It was kind of a legacy project for my daughters. But it was very important, that book, because it actually it proved to me that I had this, from creativity, having an idea creatively and just putting consistent effort into it, that here in my hands eventually was this book. So that was kind of proof of concept that I could do this. And then I set about to writing my first novel. I got an agent for that first novel. They liked the manuscript, but then I fired the agent. I self-published. The book took off, and then I got picked up by Penguin Random House. So my first 4 books in that specific series are published through Penguin Random House out of New York. And I've gone on since, and I've got some other books with other publishers, but also I've created a team, and I also self-published. So, and in the publishing industry, I'm known as a hybrid author. That is traditionally published books as well as self-published books. Getting into the publishing space happened in 2019, and that created a boutique traditional publishing house, which just caters specifically to nonfiction books that deal with paranormal, cryptids, UFOs, ancient mysteries, and true crime.
That's amazing. Children's book to true crime. You're all over the damn place.
I'm all over the place. Well, that's why I go by Jeff. My name is Jeff, that's what the G's for. And I created the pen name G. Michael Hopf because the children's book I wrote under Jeffrey Hopf. And I had intentions to do more than one children's book, which I never did. I only did the one. But when I wrote the novel, I was like, well, with the intention of doing more children's books, I didn't want to blur the lines between this kind of raw, hard-hitting, violent kind of apocalyptic fiction and a children's book author. So I wanted to create a different pen name that would be the branding behind all the novels. I never went back and did another children's book because my career as a novelist took off. And so but then it stuck. When the first book took off and did very, very well, I was stuck with the name brand or the pen name G. Michael Hopf.
Now, when you write, how do you just a couple hours a day? Just when it hits you, you start writing?
That's a great question. And it was something I'd actually would advise people that have an idea for a book and they want to write. When you make that decision, you're going to write a book. I think you treat it and I treat it, whenever I start writing, I treat it like a job. And just like if you had a part-time job somewhere else, you would dedicate so many hours to that. And then you would go about, then when the clock hits, when the job starts, you sit down and you just work for however many hours you're put into that work, or word count. And so I've structured my writing. When I get into the writing, I give myself a defined word count I'm going to get for that day. Call it 2,000 words, 3,000 words. And then I do that every single day. I dedicate myself. I make that pledge to myself. I'm going to sit down and get those words in for that day. And then it's just about, everyone's heard of compounding interest. It's just compounding labor then. And so if you're putting in, say, 5 days a week at, say, 2,000 words, well, then guess what? You've got 10,000 words a week. You got 40,000 words at the end of a month, and you've got 80,000 words at the end of 2 months, which is a novel, really. And so if you just kind of stack that labor and that word count on top of each other, it just builds up over time. And it's just about consistency. So it takes discipline and then consistency, and then you'll have a book. Now, the rough draft is going to be kind of a hot mess, as rough draft should be, but it's the place where you're the most creative and you put everything and every idea on the page. Because after the rough draft, again, it's not going to be perfect. You get into the heavy lifting of doing rewrites and things like that. And then eventually you bring in your editor and proofers, and all those people kind of come in and assist you in cleaning up the book. But I set about word count when I do a book. I have a word count every day, and I give myself, I honor the book by, again, setting that time aside that this is a second job, and I'm going to take care of it. And the books always get done. That's how I've been able to get 40 books done in the span of 12 years.
Well, the reason I asked you that question, my brother interviewed a gentleman, I think it was Sunday, and he was blind in one eye and the other eye was getting operated on, and he had a book that he wanted to write, and it was in his head, and he said for 16 hours a day and for 2 weeks he wrote his book because he was afraid he was going to go blind and not be able to do it.
Wow,
He
that's a
said,
motivator.
I was pretty much sitting right on top of the computer and typing, and 16 hours a day for 2 weeks, and he wrote his book. I was like, damn.
Good for him.
Everybody hits it differently. Some people, when it hits them, they start typing and they put down what they can. You said, so many words a day or so many lines. I love finding out how people do this because, quite honestly, I get lost reading a book sometimes, let alone sitting here and actually writing one and expecting people to read it. Listening to how you do it, it was like, all right.
Yeah, people with vision. I would even encourage. I have a friend of mine who's an author, very successful, and Franklin Horton is his name. Great guy. He dictates all of his. He's written so many books, a ton of books, and before he retired, he was writing them literally on his drive to work. He would live I think he lives on a farm somewhere outside, and like an hour commute. So he's doing 2 hours on the road. He would sit there, and that's what he would do. He wouldn't listen to music or podcasts. He would write his books, and he used, I think, a dictation service called Dragon. I think that's what it was. I don't do that, but that's something else people can look into. They can just dictate. They can just speak into their phones and write a book that way. And what's great is that it transcribes it, and then it spits it out as a Word document, which then you can go in and kind of tinker with. But that's an idea for people, specifically if they're kind of visually impaired, to look at.
Oh, definitely. All right, we got a question from somebody in the audience already.
Sure.
At Cedar Climbs with you wants to know, what's the best advice you'd give to a new author? Thank you.
I love the question. I get asked that a lot. And I always repeat the same advice that Ernest Hemingway gave when he was asked that same question in an interview years and years ago. And that is just write. I know it's very simplistic, but what I find new authors do is they'll have an idea, and then they tend to put obstacles in their own way. That is, okay, I've got this idea, but before I can start writing, you can start checking off the excuses. I need to go to creative writing class. I need to take a course. Maybe I should think about looking for editors now. Maybe it's covers, go get a publisher. Do I get an agent? And all those things, you don't need those things. It's not as, I will say about education and creative writing courses, they're not going to hurt you really. But do you really need that to start the process? No. And so it's a matter of, if you have a computer, sit down in front of it. You don't need fancy word processing or author type software. You could just use Microsoft Word, or you can get into like Google and open that up and Google Docs and just start writing. That is the key thing, because what is a writer? What do writers do? They write. And so that's my best advice. Don't put self-imposed obstacles in your way. Just start writing your story.
So basically, don't talk yourself out of doing it. Just
and people do that though. They have some kind of like imposter syndrome sometimes. They think, well, I need to do all these other things before I can actually start writing. And a lot of the things are things you don't even need to worry about. Editors, you don't have a book yet. You don't need an editor. Proofreaders, you don't need that. Cover designer, don't need that. Agent, no, don't need that. Publisher, you don't need any of those things until you actually have a book in front of you. And so really all you need is yourself, time, and a computer. And then just let it rip.
Well, I hope that answered that question. It helps. You're right. Just do it. That's amazing. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your bodyguarding? Did you bodyguard for celebrities or?
Yeah, so I didn't. I primarily worked, so my very first detail, I worked for the Saudi royal family. And I worked for a company called Vance International. I got contracted by them at first, and they sent me through all this training and whatnot in Northern Virginia. And then the very first detail was with the Saudi royal family, with the kind of like the third wife of the crown prince. And I did that detail, was my very first detail. And then from there, I kind of bounced around, mainly corporate executive protection work. I then settled in with a family in Sarasota. Did work there for quite a while. Guy was an expat, and so we protected him as a billionaire. And then again, bounced around, did some more kind of artwork, kind of protection, things like that, priceless artwork, working for like art institutions. And then my very last detail, I was working down in Mexico for Sony Corporation. kind of you have the maquiladoros down in Mexico. So we were running the Japanese executives back and forth from Southern California into Tijuana and Mexicali and Tecate.
That sounds like
lots of counterinsurgency going on there because they're dealing with cartels and stuff.
Yeah. It sounds like it would be a little bit exciting sometimes.
It was actually a lot of fun. It was, it's no major like incidents or no big shootouts, nothing like Kevin Costner kind of stuff. But it definitely was an exciting career. I met a lot of good men and women working there. And I actually attribute being a commercial diver and being a bodyguard with helping me transition from the military like successfully. Because I know that can be an issue sometimes for people, the transition. Once they get out, then they end up wherever they came from. And I was just fortunate that I left the military and then in commercial diving school, which I went to 2 months after I got out. Guess who's sitting in the classroom? A bunch of vets, people that spoke my language. They understood me. And then when I got into the field and I was offshore working the oil platforms and things like that, guess who's out there? Vets. People who speak my language. And then same thing in bodyguard work. I go there and guess who I'm surrounded by? A bunch of veterans. Again, the same people. So I felt like I had this opportunity to kind of slowly come back into civilian life because everyone I was surrounded by got me. And again, as you know, spoke our language, right?
Well, no, I don't get you because I was never. My brother was military.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I'm mistaken.
I worked retail when I was 17. I was coaching Little League. I hopped a fence to help give out uniforms. It dislocated my knee, so I was never able to join or do anything. And right now I'm 55 with arthritis from 70-year-old. So I get up and I just go to work every day. I work retail. I'm on retail management. I hear the stories. I understand what you're saying though, because from what I live with, my brother, like I said, my co-host Jake, my older brother, my father, how things happen and what goes on. So I understand. I didn't live it. I apologize.
No, you're fine. No, you're fine. I was mistaken. I apologize. But I think that the transitioning can be very difficult for vets. And
as my brother said, you don't know what to do with your hands when you get out.
Yeah. Well, think about this too. I mean, think about the level of responsibility that you've had when you're in the military at such a young age, and you're doing things that are kind of sometimes very historical. You're out there kind of on the frontier, so to speak, right? Or expeditionary force, or you're kind of at the tip of the spear, and you're tackling things, and you also have a sense of like this grand purpose if you're forwardly deployed and combat deployed, and then you leave that. You've got big responsibilities, and then you end up back somewhere, and again, people don't understand you. They can't relate with you. And you look at your job and you might be in a college, and no one just understands you. And it can be this big culture shock. I know coming specifically from the infantry, where it's kind of intense in some regards. And there's just definitely kind of the subculture that's in the infantry. And then you end up back and wherever. And again, it can be difficult. And I think letting veterans know that you're not alone and that there are other veterans very close by, and just go find them. I mean, it's a big family. You don't have to be from the same unit or the same branch. Just reach out to them and talk to them. You're definitely not alone. Any veterans listening out there, they're having transition issues, just pick up the phone and call somebody. We're all here to listen to you, for you, and be with you. And just know that you're just not alone.
Which is why we do this show. Veterans come on and we embrace them, and this is what we do. We talk to them and we get the word out there, so that you are normal and this is the way things happen, and how to do it sometimes. This is the whole purpose behind this podcast.
And it's great. It's a great mission to have. It's a great mission to have, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
I have another question coming in. At Mike and boys, how did your time in the Marines shape the survival themes in your books? Thanks, Mike.
Well,
for the question.
That's it. What I've already, so the apocalyptic fiction, I've always been a big fan of apocalyptic fiction. And I was a big reader. And so to answer the question then, when it came time to start writing them, because the military, because the Marines and the infantry and my time I served, deployed 3 times, was so poignant in my life, I always include them in my books. And I think it gives to readers a true, authentic picture of what the military is in a lot of ways. I know there was something I felt missing in some of the books I was reading. By the way, that was the main crux behind writing the first book. I was doing so much reading that I couldn't find the one book I wanted. So I decided to write it. And that's what I did. I wanted the book to have this grand kind of plot where you, the reader, are seeing when there's this EMP. The EMP is the weapon of choice that essentially destroys the grid. So when you have the grid collapse, I wanted the reader to see it not through the eyes of just, say, a suburban family, but also through the eyes of the halls of government and also through the eyes, kind of the POV of people in the military. And I give this, I think, a very accurate depiction of the military. And that is, it's not always this monolithic thing, and that we all don't we're not like robots. We all think exactly the same. And we have one grand purpose, that is to defend the homeland. And then what do we do when that homeland is under threat? And so I depicted kind of a military fracturing because of that. And some people have families. They want to come, because we join for a variety of reasons. But again, one purpose is that we love our country and we want to defend it. But we also, when we're defending the nation state, we're also defending our families. And so what happens if the nation state is under tremendous threat? That means then your families are under tremendous threat. And there's history that kind of backs this up. And so I used my experiences in the Marine Corps, knowing the different personalities that people I served with. They really kind of, so the characters in the military are very, I think they're accurate. There's a lot of discipline. There's a lot of violence, executed by military personnel, skill sets that the military has and brings it to bear. So I used all my experiences and I just layered in the book, but also, again, show the reader that we're just not this monolithic kind of, thing. We're individuals that are our own personalities, our own likes and dislikes, and you get to see that play out.
Okay. So, like every Marine, what's your favorite crayon color?
I'm fond of green.
You're fond of green? Gentleman last week who said Salisbury because, Salisbury tastes like Salisbury.
Crayons. I don't even know when that whole thing came about. I don't even know where that was, the whole crayon eating thing, but it's all fine. We're good. We can handle it. What's that one joke? There's only two military branches. There's the Army and the Navy, and then the Air Force is a corporation, and the Marine Corps is a cult. So, and we're fine with that. We're totally fine. We're fine with we actually kind of revel in the fact that we're a cult. We're kind of savages. That's okay.
Okay, I like that. Next question's coming in. At Brown Sauce, okay, what was the turning point when you knew writing would be your full-time path? Thank you, Brown Sauce, for that.
Yeah, thank you for the question. It was when I wrote the first book. I had an agent, I fired the agent, self-published it. Book was just kind of doing okay, sale here and there. And after 10 days, it just took off. And I was watching it it was incredible. The sales are incredible. And the sales, I thought maybe it was a fluke, and more sales. And it just kept going. It kept going. It kept going. It kept going. And at the end of a month of watching that, I saw a door of opportunity open, like huge, wide open. And I knew I couldn't take 18 months to write a sequel to the book. I'd already had a sequel in mind. I couldn't take 18 months to do that. That I have a good understanding of how people like to consume content, and that's what a book is. It's content. They want the next one as soon as they can get their hands on it. And with the volume of sales around, it's like, I can't wait for 18 months because they're selling so hot right now. I need another one to come in right behind it. So I went to my wife and I said, listen, I need to quit my job so I can get the sequel out. And she looked at me like I was crazy, but I know her. And I came armed with a spreadsheet. And on the spreadsheet was what we had made the year before, the total year, and what I had made in 1 month with my book sales. And I'd made more money that 1 month than I made all of last year. And she goes, quit your job. And so I did. I quit and immediately went to writing the sequel and got that completed in about 2 months. I wrote that sequel, put it up for pre-order, and I was right. My bet was right because I put all the chips on the table. And the pre-order sales, like Amazon had reached out to me. They were seeing the sales and they were like, hey, we want to give you option to pre-order your book. It was something they didn't do before. And so they allowed me to do it. And the pre-sales were outselling the first book. The second book's pre-sales. And so things were just cooking with gas and publishing houses were calling. And that's when Penguin Random House called. And, you know, these people back in the ivory towers in Manhattan were like, hey, we got your book in front of us. We'd like to talk about buying that and 3 others. And so my career was set and I never stopped since. I just write. I'm really prolific.
And you never thought about, you know, like oversaturating, you know, let the book sit for a little bit, then do the book. You wanted a book like that?
Yes. And I think that, well, I think I've got a good idea about how, I mean, I just look at my own consumption of content, whether it's TV or podcast or books or whatever. I don't want to wait 18 months. I want to like pick up. I'd like it when Netflix, you know, I think they still do it when they put the entire series out, you can binge watch, right? When it comes out. I don't like waiting a week for another episode. Like I think a lot of people are like that. They want to just, once they get hooked into a series, they want to keep reading the series. And I felt it was best to, because it's not necessarily oversaturating when you're having a series. You got one person hooked with the first one, then you got a second one out. They want the third one, the fourth and fifth. And I just thought, I think I tapped into kind of just how Americans, and I guess any English speaking person would just like to consume content in the modern age. And because Penguin Random House was definitely one about like letting books sit for 18 months. I'm like, that's not the way to do it. Then again, I mean, we had our disagreements. That's why we parted ways after book 4. But that was one of them. I think they wait too long. I think people want their content and they want it now.
So you want, like you said, like Netflix, because if you wait that, people might lose interest and say, okay.
They do. I mean, how often? I mean, I just look at my own habits as just an illustration. And I talk to friends, and I'm sure you might be the same way. Like most people I found want to sit down and just kind of binge watch a series. They get emotionally connected to it. And they're all involved in the story, and they want to continue to read it or watch it to its conclusion. And you can't.
That's what I do with Reacher when it comes out. I sit down and watch every damn episode. I don't move from the couch.
Yeah, and I'll do that now too. If I know it's coming on Amazon or if I know it's coming on HBO, a series, I will wait until it's done, then watch the entire thing.
Right.
And I feel it's a better way of watching the shows too. You're getting that complete connection, and you're emotionally involved. There's no stopping you. I know. I prefer to watch it. I think the books are the same way. I've had people, they get impatient, understandably, and books take a lot longer in some regards. If you're going to wait, it's just too long of a time period. So I felt that naturally, organically, that I needed a sequel, and my bet paid off.
Definitely bestseller, all these books, and I see that. I just wouldn't think that way myself. You know, like let it sit a little, then do it. But you're right. People don't have the attention span to sit and wait for stuff like that. Well, it's sort of like these podcasts. After 45 minutes, people get bored. They don't want to listen anymore. You know, that's why you try to keep it at a certain amount of time, because otherwise they don't want to sit there and listen to your stories. Yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely a happy medium. In each medium or media space, there is that happy. What is that sweet spot? There could be a potential of oversaturating if you're writing something that's not in this series. So if you've got something that's going along in a series, yeah, you wanted the next one to come out as quickly as possible to kind of keep those readers kind of moving along. But if you've got one book and then you come out with another completely different, that's that departure from that series, people are like, well, do I rate it now, or what do I do with that book? And it's best that I think an author, if they have a series, to just don't focus on any other books, just focus on the series until it's done. And then you can go and revisit a new book with a new topic, a new plot, new characters.
Now, your books, where can they be found? They're online, I mean, bookstores?
Oh yeah, so all the books, every book can be found on Amazon. I mean, they're the 8,000-pound gorilla when it comes to publishing and book sales. But yeah, some of the books are Barnes and Noble physical stores, but they're online at Amazon, Barnes and Noble, other online retailers.
Okay, so that's good. So people know where to go and look for them. I have another question. There we go. Leila wants to know, did you have a mentor that is your inspiration for writing? Thank you.
Well, that's a great question. And I believe in mentors as well as I believe in coaches. I think those are important to have in your life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, with a mentor being someone who's older, who's more accomplished than you, and that's the person you kind of modeling to get to where they are. And then a coach is somebody that can be your peer that kind of is helping you through something you may not be knowledgeable on. But yes, when it comes to a mentor, I've always looked at, I've got several people that have inspired me that are authors. One was Ernest Hemingway. I've already mentioned him before, but I found that his life, now his death wasn't very romantic. And how his last years weren't all that romantic with alcoholism and then suicide. But I would say that, I looked at his life and just kind of the realism he put into it. I looked at my own life and it's like, Ernest has done a lot of exciting things. That's why you feel this realism in his book. And because you look at his life, his biography, and it's like, well, he's a man that'd been around and been there, done that. And so I read a lot of his books, and his books were definitely inspirational for me. And then there was, as far as someone who's like a mentor, again, I never met her. Her name is Stephanie Meyer. And I used her kind of writing, how do I put this? She was the one that gave me the idea to treat the book. Stephanie Meyer did the Twilight series. Okay. And I never read her books, by the way. So sorry, Stephanie. But the Twilight series with the vampires and all that, it were turned into movies, blockbuster stuff. But what I did is I went and I researched how authors wrote, how they structured their time. And I found hers to be very, very inspiring. And she did, and that's where I adopted hers. She treated it like a second job. And she set about when all of her kids were asleep and her husband was asleep to work those hours. And again, that's how her very first book, Twilight, came out, is that in the middle of the night, 3 hours a night, she wrote and was able to accomplish that book. And so I look at authors that are out there that are more accomplished than me as kind of my mentors. And I've also been fortunate after my first book came out. And now this is what I would advise authors out there too. Do not hesitate to reach out to other authors that are more accomplished than you and ask for advice. You're going to knock on the door and some are going to answer, and that's okay. But you knock on enough doors, one will answer. I'm the person that answers. If someone emails me, asks any questions or asks questions, I answer them. And it's because I was helped out. I was competing in the rankings, it was going back and forth between 1 and 2 with a New York Times bestseller. His name is Doug Richards. And I finally just reached out to him and I was like, hey, you might know who I am. This is my very first book, because you might know who I am. I said, you and I keep swapping spots in the techno thriller space. And was just wondering he'd already had a nice handful of books out and already been a New York Times bestseller. He's rolling in the dough. I was like, do you have any advice for a new author, just out there? And he got right back to me. Come to find out, he also was in San Diego, and he said, let me take you to lunch. And he was kind of, on my list during my very first years. I'd call and reach out to him and ask him questions. Like when I first got my contract with Penguin, he brought some very sound advice that I just didn't know what I was doing. And so I just would recommend any authors out there, reach out to other authors, specifically find them in the genre that you're in. Right now, authors in general can have advice they can give to any authors, but if you're going to be working in one space, network in that space, whatever that genre is, network with other authors, and then see if one who's more accomplished than you will give you the advice. It's very valuable to talk to other authors. And I'd highly encourage people just to ask.
How many did you actually reach out to, and how receptive were they?
Oh my gosh, I reached out to dozens.
How many of them closed the doors and just go away?
All of them but Doug.
Really?
Yeah. No one gave me the time of day.
That's amazing. Yeah. You would think up and coming, you would want to lend a hand, give them a little advice, and all to show you what you were competition. You didn't want to deal with you. Is that what it was?
I don't know. By the way, there is some of that where people look at things as competition, and there is no competition. To be honest with you, It's not as if we're selling a toaster. It's a consumable. Books are consumables, right?
Right.
And this is the importance of networking with other authors in the genres that you're writing in. And then you can work together, collaborate, help each other. When they have a book release, you notify all of your fans that this person's got a book out right now. And then you swap all those. And sometimes you co-author with people. I've done that before too. I just will co-author with another author. And why not? Again, there's no competition in this space. I mean, people aren't going to buy one book and that's the only book they have for the rest of their lives. They're going to burn through real hardcore readers will burn through a book in 2 or 3 days. And then they want another book. And if they burn through all of yours, they're going to find they like a certain topic or genre, they're going to continue to find those. And so if you've networked with a solid core of writers in your genre, you're going to get now known amongst those other writers. And so if they're doing really well, that kind of uplifts you. If you understand kind of the metrics of sales, like on Amazon and how the algos work. And if you're connected with them, you'll now see your name kind of on their product page. Like, people that bought this book also bought this and that and that. And so if you're networking with these people and doing enough collaboration, you'll see now you're connected to them. And it's brilliant. And people should highly do it. There's no competition in writing.
Yeah, well, see, the reason I asked you that was 35 years ago, I was at Home Depot. And there was a guy running a department, and I wanted to learn that part of the business and become a manager. And he was afraid, you're going to take my job, so I don't want to teach you. So I had to stand over his shoulder and watch him. And one day he got sick, and they're like, okay, Steve, we're throwing you in there. And instead of saying, oh, I don't know a damn thing, so he wouldn't teach me, from watching him, because he wouldn't teach me, I took over the position and I ran with it. And I wound up opening like 3 or 4 stores for them in that department, being a manager and getting it running. But it was from standing over his damn shoulder, because he wouldn't give me the time of day. He was, oh, you're going to take my job. And I wound up taking it because he was sick, but that's neither here nor there. But to learn his position, it was like this every day over his damn shoulder. And that's why I asked about, how many doors were closed with his, because people do that in every aspect of, businesses and everything. Like they're up to me.
I don't, but I was going to say that it's fear-based, and they don't have to have that. And it creates, where's this saying, like, what you resist will persist. And he was coming from something very fear-based, and eventually it happened anyway. It's almost as if, God or the universe made it happen, because he was so fearful of it, he brought it into existence in some ways. And I just find openness and collaboration is, and by the way, then you create friendships too. And that's and people want to work with people they like and they respect. Yeah, maybe there will be someone who'll try to screw you over here and there, but I think it's always best, and I've seen nothing but positives by collaborating with other authors. Again, I don't see if someone's got a book in my genre and they say, hey, I'm so-and-so, it's my very first book, can you put this out to your fans? I'll first want to read it and make sure it's good, and then I'll totally promote it. I have no problem with that. None.
Oh, that's fantastic. My brother just posted a truly creates a replacement. Exactly. All right, we have another question coming in. At Applejack7, what advice do you give to veterans who want to write and publish? Thank you, Applejack7.
Again, yeah. So great question. I think the writing is, again, just sit down and write. I think that's important. Find examples of other writers and kind of model kind of their work ethic. And that's what I did with Stephanie Meyer. And again, allowing also Ernest Hemingway to be an inspiration to try to get realism into my books. But don't put artificial obstacles. I know I've talked about that, but just sit down and write. You've got the story to sit down and write. Don't get in your own way. When it comes to publishing, though, that's the harder one. So now you got the book in front of you. There's 2 ways of, actually now there's 3, really. There's 3 ways of getting, or actually there's 2 ways of having a book published. You can self-publish it, or you can go with a traditional publisher. And then going with a traditional publisher, there's 3 ways of doing that. That is, you have an agent, the agent represents you, and they go knock on the golden doors of the towers in Manhattan to get you a deal. Very difficult, by the way, and it takes a tremendous amount of time. And then you do what I did. You just sell a lot of books, and then they want to pick you up and they offer you a lot of money. And then you've got the other where you have kind of already an established footprint. So say you've got a podcast and you're already successful in that podcast. Well, if you've already got an audience, a base, then a publisher is going to be more apt to want to take your book on because you've already got a proven ability to attract. You've already got built-in sales. They're right there. You've already got this low-hanging fruit, and that's what they're really looking at. That's what we look at as a publishing company. So if we got someone who comes to us with a book and they've got an established and popular podcast, well, we already know there's going to be an instant, like already sales. All they need is the book to be out, and there's going to be sales that are going to happen right away. And the podcast also serves as a kind of an instant medium to promote the book as well. So that's what mainstream publishers look at. Those are the three ways of getting with a mainstream publisher. Then there's self-publishing. Well, there's never been a better time than now, and it keeps getting better and better to self-publish. It started with Amazon back in the 90s. They kind of democratized publishing. They've got Kindle Direct Publishing, which is a great service. And it's easy to use, relatively easy to use, and you can self-publish a book and have it in 3 formats through them at no cost. Costs nothing. They just take a share of the royalties. That's all they do. So you can upload your book into KDP, Kindle Direct Publishing. They'll publish it, and all they take is a share. Now, of course, there's vanity presses and things like that out there. I do not recommend going to a vanity press. There's no reason you should be spending $10,000 to hire some company with promises they're going to publish your book. You don't need that. That's a waste of money. But if you're going to self-publish, you're going to need, once you're done with the book, you're going to need to absolutely spend a little bit of money to get it edited. So it's got to be professional. So anything you want to put out to the world, it's got to be technically like legible, and you don't want to get hit for, it's one thing to get a bad review for subjectivity. Some people just don't like a book. They don't like a plot. They don't like a character, whatever that is. And they give you a bad review. The death knell is to put out a book that's riddled with technical errors. You will destroy that book's reputation instantly. And so once you've got the book written, and you've done all the rewrites, the next thing to do is hire a professional editor. It's a must. You cannot self-edit your own work. It's impossible. A self-edited book is a non-edited book because your eyes will literally look right over typos. You will have missing words. Your mind will put the word in it as you read it. So you need another set of eyes, a professional editor to edit the book. And then you have to proof it, and then you have to format it. Those are services out there, and you can get it done relatively inexpensively and then self-publish the book on KDP or Ingram Spar. There's various other companies, but I like Amazon. Like I said, they're the 8,000-pound gorilla in the room when it comes to publishing, and I put all my books are there.
Well, we've had some people say that Amazon takes too much.
Compared to what? Right. Compared to, they have the largest market there is.
Right.
And here's the thing. You're not going to go with another third party company that's going to put it on Amazon, and they're not going to take that same share.
Right.
And by not putting it on Amazon, you're losing the largest market that there is, period. I've had all my books on all of them. They're all there now. And sometimes I will make some new books exclusive to Amazon. It's just because it's the largest marketplace. They are probably 90% of all book sales are going through Amazon. And then they offer, for exclusivity, they will double your royalty split to stay with them exclusive. And so sometimes I've done that on some of my self-published titles because the number of sales on Barnes & Noble or Kobo or iBooks or Google Play, they just don't even equal. So whatever sales I do get never equal that doubled royalty split that Amazon gives me. Right. Amazon's not perfect either. I'm not the ultimate fanboy, although they helped me out a lot when I was beginning my career. But I find them to be very good. And the KDP platform I find to be very easy to use and useful. And it's free, except for your royalty split you have to share with them.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we got time for one more question. At Lucy Lou and You, she wants to know, or he wants to know, who you're looking for as you publish new and experienced authors. Thank you.
So when it
Lucy
comes
Lou.
to the publishing company, Beyond the Fray Publishing, we're, like I said, we're a traditional boutique publisher, but we're niched. We're very niche about what we publish. And so we do only nonfiction that deals in the genres of the paranormal, UFOs, cryptids, true crime, and ancient mysteries. And we do that because my partner she comes from that space. She's got a very popular podcast, Into the Fray. She's really known in that world. And it's when I came to the partnership, I brought my expertise with writing and knowing how to produce and market a book. She came there with just this promotional kind of bullhorn, and then access to a lot of people that are prominent in those spaces. And so it was this perfect marriage of two talents. And I think when you have a smaller company like ours, it's important to have a niche. We know how to market those books. We know what the readers of those books are looking for. So we just stick to that. There's been the temptation of doing fiction or dabbling in other genres, but to be quite honest, we wouldn't do that book service because we don't I don't know how to market for romance. And by the way, there is different marketing tactics you do, whether it's a romance book or a thriller or apocalyptic or nonfiction, paranormal, or they're different audiences. And so you have to go find that reader maybe differently than you would from paranormal to, say, romance. And so we just focus on those genres. And if anyone's out there that's got a book and they want to go to a traditional publisher, you can try to go for the big boys. It's going to be very difficult, where you can find smaller publishing houses like ours, and they niche into genres. So you have to find out what genre they publish and then go after them.
Okay, so with that, how do people get in touch with you if they want to ask you questions, if they want to if they're interested in your publishing, or how do they get in touch with you?
Yeah, so the best way is just go to my website at gmichaelhopf.com, and there's a contact page there. You send me an email, I will reply. That's what I do. I've always made it something I've done ever since. Again, that was another Stephanie Meyer thing. She says she replies to everybody. Not sure if she still does this today, but that's one thing I modeled from her years ago. And you email me, I will email you back. And if you need help with something, I will try my best to answer the questions to help you in your career.
That's great. All right, Michael. We're approaching an hour here. One question we ask all of our guests that come on: what are 3 things you have to do every day, non-negotiable, to start your day, to have a day?
Well, that's great. I have a crazy routine. So I get out of bed, I go immediately come downstairs, and I go out to a cold plunge, and I spend 11 minutes. And specifically, it's 11 minutes because I get in there, and the second thing I do in the cold plunge, it's around 50-some degrees, is I do a meditation. And that like starts my day. And then the next thing that I do after I get out of that is I have a nice cup of coffee. So those are my first, the first 3 things that I do. And while I'm in the meditation, I always think it's a good practice, and it's served me for years and years, is just to come from a place of gratitude. I'm very grateful for everything I have. I'm grateful for my country. I'm grateful for my friends and my family and everything, and my readers. And I'm just filled with gratitude because of all the blessings that I have in my life. I'm even gratitude for this cat over here that keeps meowing. If you can hear the cat meowing.
I can hear it.
But so those are the things. Like, I cold plunge every day. It takes discipline, something I don't want to do, but because I don't want to do it, that means that I have to do it. And it creates great discipline. And then meditation has really helped me a lot over the years.
Now, did the cat break into the room, or has it been there the whole time?
No, so he was not in the
door, and they
so no, he was not in my office, and my wife walked by because he was on the outside of the door, and then she let him in here. He's got a bed over here on the right of me, and he'll sometimes go in there. And it's like in the window. He sits there and he goes to sleep. Now he decided to come in, and it's like not happening, and so it's fine. I hope it's not being disruptive to anyone.
Oh no, not at all. He wants all the attention. I understand that. All right, Mike. This was a great conversation. I hope you had a good time tonight. It's not normal for me to be alone, and this is how we do things here. We just jump in and we go head first and do it. I had a great chat. I hope you enjoyed yourself tonight.
I did. I really, it's an honor. Thank you. I love the mission you guys have. It's great. It's wonderful that there are people like yourselves, like you and your compatriots that are out there looking out for veterans. It is appreciated. I do thank you for that.
Well, I just want to thank the Misfit Nation for hanging out with us tonight. Don't forget to check us out on Reach Across America Radio on iHeart on Monday. I think it's 3 p.m. Eastern. Everybody have a good night. Michael, thank you again.
Thank you.
Good night, Misfit Nation. Take care.
Thanks for checking us out and being a part of the Misfit Nation show. Don't forget to visit our website at themisfitnation.com. That's themisfitnation.com. Check out all our past episodes and get some of the great Misfit Nation gear for you and your family. As always, be humble, stay hungry, and keep hustling because we are
Misfit Nation. Misfit Nation.